Welcome to the extraordinary tale of Eldridge, the Clockwork King. In this enchanting story, we dive into a world where gears and magic intertwine and the very fate of a quaint village hangs in the balance. Follow our brave protagonist as they unite an unlikely band of allies to confront the enigmatic Clockwork King, a ruler cloaked in silver, flanked by towering mechanical knights. As secrets unravel and tensions rise, you'll experience the thrill of rebellion, the weight of an ancient legacy, and the power of unity. This is not just a tale of resistance against tyranny, it's about the warmth of hope in the face of chilling despair. So settle in, whether you're enjoying a cozy evening at home, navigating your crop. The village of Eldridge was nestled between rolling hills that kissed the horizon, and the crisp, fresh air poured through the streets, giving life to its simple yet vibrant life. It was the sort of place where nothing unexpected ever happened, a gold-hued haven for farmers, traders, and families. Children laughed in the square, and elders shared tales of heroism over steaming cups of herbal tea. Yet, on this fateful evening, everything was about to change. As the last rays of sun dipped below the hills, casting an eerie glow over the village, a chill swept through the air. It was then that I first saw him, emerging from the mist like a specter. His presence sent shivers down my spine. Cloaked in silver, he stood tall, the fabric glimmering faintly as if woven from the threads of the moonlight itself. I felt a pull in my chest as I focused on him, unsure whether to call out or retreat. Others watched, frozen in their tracks, as if enchanted by the sight. Behind him, an army of metal knights clanked and whirred, marching in precise formation. Each knight was a marvel of craftsmanship, their armor adorned with intricate designs that told stories of forgotten battles and lost legends. The sound of their mechanical feet echoed through the square, a rhythm of menace and authority that combined with the whispers that now rippled through the crowd. "Who is he?" I heard a townswoman gasp, clutching her child closer to her side. Others murmured, unable to believe what their eyes beheld. Some began to doubt their sanity, their peaceful lives shattered by the image that unraveled before them. I slipped free from the throng, inching closer to the stranger. As he drew nearer, I could see the gleam in his eyes. Unnaturally bright, they shimmered like polished gemstones, flickering with an intensity that suggested he was more than mere flesh and blood. There was something otherworldly about him, something that hinted at both power and peril. "My loyal automatons," he proclaimed, his voice rising above the ambient noise like a wave crashing upon the shore. "I am the Clockwork King, and I come to reclaim what is rightfully mine." His words carried a weight that settled heavily in my chest, filling me with both a sense of dread and captivation. The knights halted in perfect synchronization, their expressions devoid of emotion, yet I felt the heat of their mechanical presence looming like a storm. I exchanged glances with my neighbors, fear washing over us as the weight of the atmosphere thickened. Would this man, who claimed royalty, bring salvation or destruction? The Clockwork King swept his cloak back and revealed an emblem etched in shining metal against his chest, a crest that hinted at a lineage I had never known. He raised a hand, and for a brief moment I thought he might bless us. But instead he pointed skyward. "The sky shall usher in a new era for this kingdom. My knights will restore order to chaos, and I, your sovereign, shall lead the way." While some watched in awe, I felt deep within my soul that there was more to his arrival than mere proclamations. Unanswered questions haunted me. Who was he really? What did he want? The villagers began to murmur again, some nodding in agreement, convinced of his authority, while others looked desperately to one another, their expressions clouded with uncertainty. Our peaceful existence seemed to hang by a thread, and I could feel the strands of fate slowly intertwining around us. But buried beneath the fear and apprehension that gripped me was a flicker of something else: curiosity. I wanted to understand this strange ruler who had come cloaked in mysteries. I wanted to learn more about the truth lying behind those glowing eyes and whether the secrets he carried would ultimately draw us closer to hope or plunge us deeper into despair. As his proclamation echoed into the fading light of day, I made a silent vow to uncover the truth, whatever cost it might entail. This was no ordinary arrival. I sensed it in my bones. The Clockwork King was not merely a ruler, he was a harbinger of change. And change, as I would soon learn, could be both a gift and a curse, entwined in a dance as intricate as the gears that turned within his knights. Little did I know, as I stood amidst the gathering crowd, my heart pounding in anticipation, that the story of my life would soon be irrevocably altered by the arrival of this enigmatic figure cloaked in silver. The day after the arrival of the Clockwork King felt heavier than the ones before it, as if the very air had thickened with expectation. The villagers gathered in the square, uncertainty etched upon their faces, punctuated by a palpable curiosity that filled the spaces between our words. I too was drawn to the square, a compulsion edging me forward, compelled to witness the spectacle that was awaited with dread and anticipation. When the Clockwork King emerged, flanked by his mechanical knights, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. He stood upon a makeshift dais, a throne of sorts fashioned from iron and intricately carved wood. The sun had risen fully, casting rays of light that danced upon his silver cloak, giving him an almost ethereal quality, further accentuated by the gleaming eyes that seemed to absorb the attention of every villager. "Loyal subjects of Eldridge," he began, his voice a melodic yet unsettling chime that resonated in the air. It was authoritative, booming, yet smooth as the ticking of an elaborate clock. "I am your rightful ruler, the last descendant of the ancient line that once graced this kingdom." A murmur swept through the crowd, shock mingling with disbelief. No one quite understood what he meant, but there was a silence that suggested we were all grasping for fragments of hope. He continued, unfurling proclamations that shaped our world anew. "From this day forth I declare the laws of the land shall be rewritten. Chaos has plagued our kingdom long enough, and order shall reign supreme. I will implement a new code of justice." His mechanical knights clicked and whirred, standing at attention, their presence both intimidating and reassuring to those seeking stability. "I will appoint the first council of mechanized order," he declared proudly. "This council shall oversee the functions of Eldridge, ensuring that every citizen flourishes under my reign. The days of tumultuous rule are over. Everyone will have their place, their duties clearly defined, and harmony shall return to our fair village." Cheers rang out from some corners of the crowd, mixed with cautious glances from others, unsure of the implications of his words. Yet, in that jubilation, I felt a cold fear creeping into my thoughts. With all the truth I had heard and seen, did we truly know what order would bring? I watched as he continued, announcing new laws that would give his knights authority over our land. No longer would we decide our fates, our paths dictated by a ruler whose eyes shone with an eerie gleam, a ruler and his constructs who were more machine than man. As the proclamations unfolded, the villagers began to exhibit a split reaction. Some were fascinated, even enthralled, yearning for the promise of order after years of bickering and strife. Others were visibly unsettled, clutching their children and exchanging glances filled with doubt. I stood somewhere in between, caught in a tempest of emotions. I couldn't deny the appeal of stability. The thought of being protected from the chaos of our past was enticing. Yet the price seemed steep, our rights relinquished into the hands of an enigmatic figure I barely trusted. The Clockwork King finished his speech with a flourish, raising his hands as if blessing us with his newfound vows. "May this kingdom thrive under my guidance. The age of the mechanized is upon us." The crowd erupted in a combination of cheers and nervous applause, but the echoes only deepened my unease. As the villagers dispersed, I lingered, contemplating all I had heard. My heart raced. I needed to understand more, to peel back the layers of this facade. Who was this Clockwork King that claimed royalty and lineage unknown to us? The moments became heavy as I recognized that the very essence of our lives was shifting, and I was bound to uncover the truth behind his facade. Days passed since that fateful declaration, and the balance of our village tilted precariously. The knights enforced the new rules with meticulous precision, shrouded in an ominous sense of duty. I observed them closely from a distance, their methods sometimes pragmatic, often harsh, instilling a sense of fear my heart was not prepared to navigate. Though my curiosity drove me forward, I couldn't ignore the shivers going down my spine each time I caught the glint of their metal visages. What kind of power was at play, and what secrets did the Clockwork King carry within his intricate heart? I became determined not just to be a spectator of this upheaval, but to be part of whatever would come next. It was time to learn the truth or face the consequences of ignorance. With each passing day, I felt the threads of fate intertwining further, tightening around us, drawing me deeper into a web spun by a ruler who had emerged from the shadows with mechanical knights by his side. Whatever his purpose, I knew that the balance of Eldridge depended on the answers I sought. I was no longer merely a witness. I was an unwilling participant in a story that would shape not only my future, but the destiny of this entire kingdom. The weight of the Clockwork King's decree continued to burden my thoughts long after the raucous cheers of the crowd faded into memory. Days turned into weeks, and with each sunrise, the village of Eldridge danced on the edge of uncertainty. The mechanical knights patrolled the streets like sentinels of a new regime, their presence serving as a constant reminder that our lives had irrevocably changed. My determination grew alongside my apprehension, and I found myself increasingly restless. I needed to know more about this enigmatic figure who claimed authority over our destiny. On a windswept evening, fueled by an insatiable curiosity and a rising tide of dread, I made my decision. I would venture into the depths of Eldridge Castle, a place steeped in history and shadowed by the very myths that whispered of the Clockwork King. The castle loomed on the hill, its stone walls aged and weathered, holding secrets of an era long past. I climbed the winding path, swallowed by the whispering winds that wreaked havoc among the trees. As I crossed the threshold of the great wooden doors, the cool air enveloped me, laced with a heavy scent of dust and forgotten tales. Inside, the grand hall echoed with memories of royalty and rebellion. Remnants of opulent tapestries hung limp on the walls, their colors faded like the spirits of those who once roamed these halls. As I wandered deeper into the castle, my heart raced with anticipation, leading me to the archives, an area rumored to hold the knowledge of our kingdom's past. The heavy oak door protested as I pushed it open, revealing an expansive chamber filled with shelves stacked high with scrolls and ancient tomes. Dim light filtered through cracks in the stone, illuminating motes of dust that danced in the air, each reminiscent of fleeting moments in time. My eyes sparkled with hope. I was certain that here, in this treasure trove of knowledge, lay the key to unlocking the truth behind the Clockwork King. With fervent urgency, I combed through the dusty tomes, seeking patterns in histories rife with lore. It was in the dimmest corner of the library, tucked away behind various volumes, that I stumbled upon one particularly ornately bound book. It was heavy, almost oppressive, and engraved with intricate designs that seemed to pulse with energy as I touched it. As I carefully opened the tome, I felt a shiver run down my spine. The pages described a legend long forgotten, of a power source in the heart of Eldridge said to possess the ability to animate and control mechanical beings. The Clockwork Heart, the very thing that bound the knights to the Clockwork King, was not simply a device, it was a living essence. I read on, spellbound. The legend detailed how the heart, crafted by skilled artisans long ago, was meant to protect the kingdom in times of dire need. Its power was unparalleled, capable of bestowing life and commanding it, a gift intended for a noble ruler. However, legends are seldom straightforward, and as I delved deeper, I found shadowy hints that the heart might have been misused, twisted into a tool of dominion rather than protection. As each word sank into my consciousness, my resolve hardened. The Clockwork King was linked to this heart, a tether of ambitions that perhaps consumed him. I had to confront him and understand what drove his relentless pursuit of order and power. But to challenge him, I needed to know his true nature. Was he the benevolent ruler he professed to be, or a tyrant orchestrating our downfall? Determined to seize the hidden knowledge further, I scoured the archives, piecing together the fragmented history that might hold the key to understanding the Clockwork King's ambitions. I noted tales of other rulers once revered who had fallen victim to their lust for power, driven by the very same heart that now coursed through metal veins of his knights. Hours melted into one another as I plunged into the abyss of ancient narratives. I knew I had limited time. Each day passed with an increasing urgency as the villagers grew more dependent on the clockwork order he imposed. The enigma of the Clockwork King was transforming into a looming shadow over Eldridge, and I could not stand by idly. With the book clutched tightly in my hands, I resolved to either confront this master of the gears or unveil the truth buried beneath the castle's foundations. I would gather allies, those who, like me, questioned the intentions of the Clockwork King. Together, we would challenge the threat he posed to our way of life. As I descended the castle stairs, the weight of burden on my shoulders felt lighter, replaced by a burning determination. The heart of the mechanism was calling to me, whispering secrets that needed to see the light of day. In this tale of intrigue and authority, I could no longer be a sideline spectator. I needed to rise to the occasion, to face the truth that lay ahead. The heart of Eldridge was intertwined with my own, and I would do whatever it took to protect both. Time was of the essence, and I could feel the cogs of destiny turning, moving us inexorably toward a confrontation that would shape the future of our kingdom. The days that followed my revelation in the archives were fraught with tension and uncertainty. The villagers of Eldridge, once united by their daily rituals and simple lives, now found themselves divided by the looming presence of the Clockwork King. Supporters sang his praises, convinced that the knight's patrols and his decrees paved the way for a brighter future. Dissenters, fueled by whispers of rebellion, feared the loss of our freedom and sought a way to resist the iron grip tightening around our throats. I could sense the fracture in our community, and it became vividly clear to me that I couldn't face the Clockwork King alone. I needed allies, those who possessed skills and knowledge that could tip the balance back in our favor. As urgency gripped my heart, I set out to find those willing to stand against our unyielding ruler. My first stop was the workshop of Cedric, the village inventor, notorious for crafting contraptions that often skirted the line between genius and folly. I had watched him from afar, marveling at his unorthodox creations, which were both coveted and feared. As I entered his workshop, a tangled maze of gears and gadgets, I found him hunched over a table, concentrating on a particularly bewildering mechanism. "Cedric!" I called out, excitement bubbling in my voice. He looked up, revealing a face smeared with soot, his wild hair sticking out in every direction. "What brings you to my chaotic lair, Arya?" he asked with a smirk. "More broken pieces to fix?" "I need your help," I said earnestly. "The Clockwork King, he is not what he claims to be. I've unearthed secrets that could endanger us all. We require ingenuity to counter his knights." Cedric's expression shifted as I relayed the plight of the village, the ominous nature of the king, and the implications of the legendary Clockwork Heart. There was a fire that ignited in his eyes, a flicker of rebellion. "You're serious, aren't you?" he said. "I've feared that man's ambitions since the moment he claimed the throne. He's a madman cloaked in silver. Count me in. I can devise traps, inventions to sabotage those metallic brutes." With Cedric on board, I knew I had tapped into a crucial resource, but I needed more. The glory of our past champions had ebbed away in the wake of the king's rule. Yet, one name echoed persistently through the whispers of dissent, a knight who had once served nobly before being cast out. His name was Sir Reginald, a figure of honor now rendered a pariah. Determined to find him, I asked around and learned that he resided in the outskirts of Eldridge, hidden away by a cloak of solitude. The journey was treacherous, and as I navigated the overgrown path toward his secluded dwelling, the gravity of my mission weighed heavily upon me. Upon reaching the small, weather-beaten cottage, I knocked hesitantly on the door, my heart racing. Moments stretched thin, but finally it creaked open. Sir Reginald stood before me, a shadow of his former self, battle-worn and weary. His eyes unveiled the burden of a forgotten honor. "What do you want, girl?" he asked warily, crossing his arms across his chest. "Please, Sir Reginald," I implored. "I need your help. The Clockwork King is a threat to our entire kingdom. He is reshaping our lives under a veil of authority, but I refuse to accept this fate. We need a leader, someone who knows how to combat his knights." He studied me carefully, and I could almost see him weighing the merits of my appeal. With a deep sigh, he finally answered, "A clockwork automaton holds no respect for honor. They understand only superiority through force." His voice softened, "But I can see it in your eyes. You are ready to fight for what you believe. Very well, I will join you in this struggle." Finding myself buoyed by the alliance I had forged with Cedric and Sir Reginald, I knew my mission was coming alive. But we required one more piece to complete our band of misfits, a soul capable of cunning and insight. Rumors swirled around the village about an herbalist named Elowin, a woman known for her knowledge of medicinal plants and potions, but whose past lay entwined with the royal lineage. Venturing to her herb-filled abode, which sat nestled amongst the wildflowers, I knocked again, half expecting her to dismiss me. Instead, Elowin swung the door wide, her sharp eyes reflecting a blend of curiosity and suspicion. "What do you want?" she inquired, her voice crisp and cautious. "We need your expertise," I said, carefully explaining our plan to challenge the Clockwork King. "Your ties to the royal family could prove invaluable in our quest." Her brow furrowed as she listened, weighing every word. When I finished, there was a long silence. "You understand that the king wasn't simply born of nobility. He is a product of loss, like the rest of us. But," she added with a steely resolve, "you want my support? It means you may find yourself facing shadows from my past." "We accept that," I assured her. "Only together can we uncover the truth and find a way to confront him. You can guide us with your knowledge of herbal remedies and poisons that may aid our resistance." Elowin nodded slowly, an unmistakable spark igniting in her eyes. "Then we have much to prepare." With the unlikely band now complete, Cedric, the rogue inventor, Sir Reginald, the disgraced knight, and Elowin, the enigmatic herbalist, we began crafting ingenious plans to sabotage the patrolling knights. Each passing day, under the shroud of twilight, we met it in secret, drawing maps and scheming pathways to infiltrate the king's territory. As we delved deeper, we gathered intelligence to reveal the clockwork mechanisms that powered the king's legion and might exploit their vulnerabilities. The iron grip of the Clockwork King felt less daunting with every plan we devised. A flicker of hope ignited in my heart as I understood we were far from helpless. But lurking just beneath the surface of our alliance was an unsettling truth. The deeper we probed, the more we uncovered about the hidden connections that bound the Clockwork King to our past. A legacy of ambition and tragedy that threatened to reshape our understanding of loyalty and power. In these clandestine gatherings, we unearthed not just the gears behind the king's rule, but also the delicate threads that could lead to either doom or salvation for our fractured kingdom. Fate moved swiftly, and amidst the shadows of revolution, the four of us prepared to unravel the Clockwork King's design. A confrontation loomed on the horizon, and while I felt fear bubble within me, I also sensed a strength growing, a conviction that we would rise, come what may. Together, we were no longer mere inhabitants of Eldridge. We had become its fervent protectors, ready to challenge the darkness gathering upon our home. The days that followed our alliance took on a spiraling tension, a sense of impending doom as our plans solidified and the Clockwork King tightened his grip on Eldridge. The tension in the air was electric, thickening with each new proclamation he made in the town square. Each decree further stirred the villagers, some rallying behind him while others began to whisper of revolt, igniting a fire behind closed doors. As murmurs grew into shouts of discontent, a chilling announcement reverberated through the village. A grand assembly was to take place in the heart of Eldridge, where the Clockwork King would unveil his master scheme. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I understood that this was no mere declaration. It was likely the beginning of his final act in reshaping our world. It was a crisp morning when the townspeople gathered under the watchful gaze of the castle's stone walls, a crowd tangled with both dread and curiosity. I, along with Cedric, Sir Reginald, and Elowin, stood off at the edges of the crowd, our hearts pounding in unison. We exchanged determined glances, the urgency of our silent pact forged in the shadows echoing through the air. When the Clockwork King appeared, an electrifying hush fell over the crowd. He exuded an aura of dread and command, stepping forth with his mechanical knights arrayed behind him, clicking and whirring menacingly. The gleam of his silver cloak in the sunlight underscored his otherworldly presence, and as he raised his voice, it reverberated like a bell echoing through the caverns of our deepest fears. "People of Eldridge," he began, his tone laced with an unsettling mix of charm and authority. "You stand at the precipice of a new era. My kingdom shall no longer be shackled by the limitations of chaos. I have devised a design, one that enforces order and efficiency, a grand unification of Eldridge and all its territories into the heart of clockwork perfection. Gasps swept through the crowd as he continued, revealing the true depths of his ambition. With each word he spoke, my heart raced. A plan to eliminate all dissent, to lay waste to free will and autonomy, and to replace it with the cold precision of his mechanical regime. I could hear whispers of horrified disbelief merge with heartbeats echoing in the silence. To serve my vision, I will harness the power of the clockwork heart, he declared. Our kingdom will thrive, mechanized and unified under one iron rule, but only for those who accept this reality. Woe to those who resist. My knights will not merely patrol, but will enforce compliance, on pain of becoming part of the very machines they fear. With those chilling words, my resolve hardened. I could feel the ground beneath me shake with the mounting fear of the gathered villagers, many already gripped by the king's promises of salvation. But this was not salvation. It was oppression, a cocoon of control wrapped tightly around our lives. I glanced anxiously at my allies, and we shared a silent agreement. This was our moment. With courage bubbling to the surface, I stepped forward, leaving the armor of shadows behind. "No," I called out, my voice ringing against the stillness that followed his reveal. "You speak of order but sow the seeds of tyranny. We will not become obedient subjects to a clockwork master." The crowd parted as I made my way to the front, my heart thundering in my chest. The Clockwork King's eyes narrowed, gleaming with a predatory interest. "Ah, the brave girl from the village. How quaint," he replied, his voice smooth, yet tinged with mockery. "You think a mere human can stand against the might of the mechanized? You will regret speaking out of turn." "Regret? No. It is you who will regret underestimating us," I retorted, summoning all the defiance within me. "We come together now. We shall not stand idly by as you twist our world into a nightmare of gears and steel. Eldridge is more than cogs in your machine. It is our home. It belongs to the people." The villagers stirred, a blend of fear and hope igniting amongst them. I could sense their fear shifting as the whispers began to normalize, rallying around the notion that perhaps freedom, defiance, and unity could indeed rise up against a soulless ruler. The Clockwork King's laughter rang out, cold and mechanical. "Then allow me to show you the error of your ways." The knights shifted, their mechanical forms preparing for battle. The tension in the air crackled, charged with the electric promise of conflict. Time slowed as the confrontation unfolded, a dance of desperation at the brink of chaos against order. I braced myself, recalling the plans Cedric had devised. As battle erupted, mechanical knights advanced, marching towards us with an eerie synchrony. The skirmish ignited in a flurry of chaos. Atop my gathering dread, I shouted for our allies. "Cedric, now!" At my call, the inventor darted forth, unleashing ingenious gadgets, swift and precise, designed to disrupt the knights' movements. Gears cracked and whirred as clever contraptions exploded into action, causing chaos among the unfurling ranks of the knights. While the knights staggered, Sir Reginald charged into the fray, sword drawn and courage blazing, cutting through metal as sparks flew. "For Eldridge!" he roared, epitomizing the defiance rising from the heart of the villagers. Elowen worked deftly at the periphery, slipping through the tumult, using her knowledge to incapacitate knights with potions that rapidly corroded their mechanisms. Her hands were steady, channeling the scars of her family's past into a fight fueled by determination. Amidst the clamor of clashing metal and the fervent cries of defiance, I sought the heart of the clockwork design. My instincts led me toward the center of the chaos, the Clockwork King himself, cloaked in silence amid his automaton legion. The moment I locked eyes with him, I felt the weight of his gaze penetrating through me, his confidence shaken by our unity. "You would defy me?" he hissed, taking a step closer, mechanical limbs shifting as though uncertain of their own purpose. The gears that kept him moving seemed at odds with the stirring uncertainty within. "You do not own us," I cried. "This is our home, and we will tear down the walls you've built around us." With resolve pouring from my words, the fight surged not only within me, but in all around me. The villagers began to join the fray, emboldened by the sight of our small band holding firm against a seemingly unstoppable force. In that moment, I understood. The Clockwork King may have brought forth his mechanical knights, but he could not snuff out the indomitable spirit of those who called Eldridge home. My heart raced at the realization that together we could confront him and his twisted vision head-on. In the midst of conflict, the fate of our kingdom hung before us like a tightrope, a thin line strung between despair and hope. My spirit soared with a determination born from all that we fought for: our freedom, our home, our very essence as a united people. The battle raged on, a tumultuous clash of will against power. The moment of reckoning had arrived, a labyrinth of gears and cogs spiraling toward an inevitable confrontation that would define not only the future of Eldridge, but my very place within the folds of our story. I would face the Clockwork King, armed with the knowledge of our shared spirit, ready to confront the heart of darkness lurking within him. The fate of our realm hinged on this clash, one that would echo throughout Eldridge for ages to come. Now, it was time to rise or fall together.